Oh, hey, let's talk a little bit about the unified field theory. And what is the unified field theory? I mentioned it before, and there's a link down in the description from one of Grant Cameron's descriptions. But what it basically states is the idea that the entire phenomenon that we know of, like everything from UFOs to Bigfoot to the orbs to, well, ghosts, poltergeists, the whole shebang, the whole thing is just one phenomenon. Like it's one energy source that exists outside of this dimension, which is manifesting itself in a number of ways within this world. Now, this theory was thought up not by Grant, it was thought up by guys like Ivan Sanderson, John Keel, and some of the greats whose shoulders we stand on. And I think that what it was really just a way to try to make sense of it. Because after a while of studying this, your brain starts to hurt and you're trying to come up with some sort of an explanation as to how all this is possible. Like if you say, of course, as I do, that there's dimensional portals, the next question is going to be, where do these portals go? And are you saying there's a multiverse? I don't know where they go, but they got to go somewhere. Maybe they're going to somewhere in this universe. Maybe they're going to somewhere in another different universe or another dimension, but they got to go somewhere. And that's the problem is that the number one phrase that everyone hates to say is, I don't know. We hate not knowing. We hate not being aware of what's in our environment. It makes us feel like we're not in control of what's going on in the world around us. So while, I deeply respect the people who are involved, and sometimes it's hard, you hear somebody say something you disagree with and you're like, oh no, these people are wrong. They must be idiots or whatever, but they're not. They're just like me and like you, and they're trying to make sense of what's happening. So the one thing that I hold to that is my guiding light in regarding this sort of material is sort of the fractal nature of reality. That is to say, that's why there's like things like parables, where a story about fishing can help you make decisions in your life and stuff, because things are pretty similar. Things have a tendency to be kind of, well, they rhyme, if you can kill two birds with one stone and all these sort of parables, or the idea of big fish eating little fish and how that's mirrored throughout society and in our world. And that crosses into different realms as well. Like, for example, we all know that, well, I think that this idea of what we have with fractal reality is true across dimensions. So that's why one of the reasons I have a problem with the kumbaya thing that's going on with a lot of the Bigfoot stuff and a lot of the UFO stuff, where there are space brothers, and not only are space brothers, they're us from the future sent back, and by helping them, we're helping us. Yeah, I don't think so. I think that sounds a little bit like propaganda to me. Because again, coming in my house, raping the wife, taking the baby, and cutting up the cow, not really a nice thing to do. I think that there is probably some good and there is probably some bad. Like there's just like people. Some people are good, some people are bad. And even then, that might depend on your perspective. But I do think that we have to accept that there are things we are not going to know. There are things that we just don't have the hardware to understand. Trying to understand the nature of reality is a lot like the stomach bacteria in your stomach trying to understand the subplot in Friends. It's not really something we're capable of. And a lot of us are ants trying to argue about what the television screen is. But that's not to say that we give up. No doubt, in any field or frontier of science where you're right on the bleeding edge, there are things that are happening that are around us that we don't really fully understand, but we can harness that. You don't have to be able to build a radio in order to turn one on. You just have to figure out a way that you can take this information, take this knowledge, and then use it for our advantage.